to hear.
Back to the Future. I feel like kind of Back to the Future, you know? Like
it is a little
bit, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit. We're revisiting something that we just did.
Right.
But it's in the future.
Exactly. It's in the future. Back to the Future. I said what I said. Welcome, everyone, to episode 24 of Girls Gone Spooky.
Wow. How's everyone feeling? Spooky?
So spooky. Hey, everyone. Testing. 1, 2. Feeling spooky or what? I apologize in advance for any sniffling, throat clearing, frog voice that is coming out of my mouth orifice today. Had a little bit of a cold, so that's that on that, but I will try to mute myself as much as possible when I'm not talking. But yeah, sorry, I sound like a gremlin.
No, it's like in the episode of Friends where Phoebe has a cold and she's like, just loves her like sexy, raspy voice.
Yeah, I had a French lesson today and with my tutor, and he was like, our video didn't come on at first over Skype, and he was like, wow, what is that manly voice coming through like a computer? I was like, okay, that's not very nice.
Yeah, it's a bit extreme.
Raspy and sexy.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I sound like a congested frog.
No, you don't.
It's fine. Listen, don't sugarcoat it, Amy. It's fine.
No, I'm not. I love it, okay?
I love it. I freaking love it. Wow. Do we have a packed episode for you guys?
Yay.
I can throw up. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Okay. I'm really excited to hear yours, but I feel like maybe I should go first.
Yeah, I think so. I agree.
It's a continuation, and it's pretty short because I wanted to hear your story more than anything.
Yeah.
But
okay. Perfect.
We could just jump in, except for one thing. First of all, a quick recommendation. I've been watching the show, I think it's called Life After Death with Tyler Henry. He's a medium, so the whole show is just him meeting with clients and communicating with their past loved ones. Yeah, it's so amazing to watch what he does, and the people's reactions are so just touching because he's connecting with the people that they loved but have lost, and it's amazing. So worth the watch. It's on Netflix.
I'm excited.
Excellent. Okay, that was a quick aside. But here we go. A little bit more about past lives, because there were a couple things I mentioned but really glossed over. Mm-hmm. So the first one was that I very quickly mentioned the theory that maybe gender nonconformity has something to do with past lives. And the main publication that I found on this subject is called Childhood Gender Nonconformity and Children's Past Life Memories. And the author was Marietta Pelivanova, I think. So her article, it has a lot of discussion around their methodology and how they found their sample and the statistical tests and everything, but I'm just going to go to the results section mostly, other than to say that the sample included 469 children who had recorded instances of bringing up past life memories. Mm-hmm. And of those, about 23% of them had what they called in the article sex change memories. So past life memories of being a biological sex that differs from their current one.
Interesting.
And after they did all of their interviewing and analysis and all that, they found that 80% of the subjects with sex change memories exhibited gender nonconformity, compared to only 5.8% of subjects who had same-sex memories. So that's a pretty significant difference.
Yeah.
And I think there are limitations to their study, of course, but it's still very compelling. And like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't have any gender dysphoria or anything like that, so I can't
No.
speak to it. But it might be kind of a nice thought, but obviously I
Yeah.
can't say that from any sort
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
perspective.
That's,
But
that's fair.
I don't know, it's kind of compelling. But
Yeah.
that
Yeah. And sort
was.
of, I mean, it would explain a lot, right? That, I mean,
Mhm.
gender is a construct already, and so many cultures already are non-conforming to the binary gender structure.
Right.
Many like indigenous groups, for example, but like
Mhm.
I don't know, that would make sense that whether in your past life you were the opposite gender within the binary or you were just a totally different gender altogether.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I don't. They didn't touch on any like third gender
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that, but they did have from their sample. I can't remember the exact number, but it was like 15 maybe different countries represented.
Whoa,
Um, yeah. So
that's pretty extensive.
it is. It was based on. I think it was the University of Virginia. They have a I guess, a database of children in particular who have recorded past life memories.
Wow.
So they had, I think, 2,200 children in that database. So
Holy
it's a
crap.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's awesome.
yeah. So some people are doing research on this, but of course,
Yeah,
that's like, well, I was going to say frustrating, but I think it's actually why it's so magical and
yeah,
fun to think about is that we don't have any answers.
yeah.
So,
No, that's so true.
um, yeah, but it's just cool to know that people are trying, at least
Yeah,
seeking.
yeah.
So, yeah. But the other thing was when I was thinking about these children and their experiences, I was trying to find like some sort of pattern in their stories. Like, is it based on geography? Like they have memories of a past life in the same place, or like within families, that kind of makes sense. But again, there's no definitive answers. But as I was trying to look for those quote unquote answers, I ended up just finding more stories that I wanted to share. Um,
Yeah.
because these particular ones I thought were really fascinating because they're stories of children who have past life memories that were traceable, as in they
Whoa.
could identify
Oh my
the
God.
person, and then either through research or even like the living relatives of the deceased, they were able to like confirm that what they
Oh.
remembered was part of their reality.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my
So
God.
yeah.
Tell me everything.
Okay. These are all from Ranker. And this first one, okay, it's called A 4-Year-Old Recalled His Life as a Hollywood Agent. So here we go. In 2009, at the age of 4, Ryan Hammonds began waking up, clutching his chest, and screaming about how his heart exploded in Hollywood. His mother, Cindy, became intrigued when Ryan revealed more details from a former life. He insisted he once lived in a house in Hollywood on a street with the name Rock in it, where he had 3 sons and a friend named Senator Fives, which those are just odd details, even if he was just imagining all of this.
Totally.
Yeah, but then one day, Cindy was going through a book featuring photos from old Hollywood. Ryan peeked over her shoulder and excitedly identified one man as George and another as himself. Cindy contacted a psychiatrist from UVA Medical Center who conducts research on reincarnation. The psychiatrist verified the man in the photo was a film star named George Raft, and the other man was Martin Martin, who died in 1964.
Martin
Upon
Martin.
contacting, yeah, I know.
That's an awesome
Yeah,
name.
yeah. One is Martin and one is with a Y. So
Oh, that's even better,
they
honestly.
at least switched it up a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah. So upon contacting Martin's daughter, she confirmed that Martin was a Hollywood agent. He lived on North Roxbury Drive, had 3 sons, and
What?
once met a New
What?
York senator named Irving Ives. Yeah. But after meeting with Martin's daughter, Ryan lost interest in his Hollywood memories. He was standoffish at the meeting and told his mother afterward that his daughter's energy was different than it was. The psychiatrist's explanation was that upon seeing people from their past have moved on, reincarnated children gain closure and forget about their former existence. So,
Whoa.
very cool.
The
Yeah,
energy's different.
just, yeah, I know.
Imagine being that parent. I'd be like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
what are you talking about?
What are you saying?
Yeah, I wonder if he actually said it that way or if he was like, she's different. Like, this
Yeah,
isn't, that's not my daughter, but still,
that's not my
that
daughter.
coming from a
My
4 year
daughter.
old.
Yeah, it's still kind of heavy either
Yeah,
way.
so odd. Okay, now one other story. Actually, I think I have 2 that I wanted to read.
Yes.
But this one is interesting because it's called Mahatma Gandhi Investigated a Girl's Reincarnation Claims. And first of all, I will probably mispronounce some of these, so bear with me. But
How dare you?
I'm so sorry. Okay. Shanti Devi of Delhi, India, was born in 1926 and barely talked until she was 4 years old. She then began insisting that she lived with her husband and son in a town called Mathura, where she had died 10 days after giving birth. Eventually, a teacher in Devi's
Jesus.
school, I know, asked for her former husband's name, and she replied, Pandit Kedarnath Chaube. That's probably
The
horrible
whole ass name. Damn.
pronunciation. Yeah. Yeah. The teacher identified a man of this name in Mathura and wrote him a letter. Chaube, Chaube, I don't know, confirmed that his wife, Lugdi, died during childbirth 9 years prior. When Chaube traveled to meet Shanti, he introduced himself using his older brother's name. Shanti immediately caught the bluff and recognized him as her husband. She recalled details of Lugdi's life, such as her favorite food and how Lugdi bathed in a well in their courtyard. She also chastised Chaube for remarrying, as he had promised Lugdi he would not. Mahatma Gandhi eventually heard of her story, and he met up with Devi and set up a committee of 15 people to evaluate her claims. The committee could not debunk the story. So, another good one. Okay, let's see.
That's so wild. I just,
I
oh
know.
my God.
It's just bizarre. And yeah, here's another one that's like kind of along the same lines of knowing that you were reincarnated as a specific person. But this one is cool because it's called A Midwestern Toddler Recalls Writing Gone with the Wind.
No.
It's just an
No.
amazing title already.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So here we
That's
go.
gold.
From the time he was 2 years old, a Midwestern child named Lee insisted he had another house and another mommy. By the age of 3, he began saying he was born on June 26th rather than his actual birthday, June 21st. Lee claimed his middle name was Ko. He wrote movies for a living and had a daughter named Jennifer. His older sister asked him how old he was when he died, and he promptly replied 48. Lee's curious parents relayed the titles of several movies to Lee, asking if he had written them. When they mentioned Gone with the Wind, Lee became enthusiastic. He eagerly claimed he wrote the film. After a quick Google search, Lee's parents learned the writer of Gone with the Wind was named Sidney Coe Howard. Howard was born on June 26th, had a daughter named Jennifer, and passed away at age 48. As these details of Coe's life were unknown to Lee's parents, it's unclear how their son would have known them.
And how old was he?
3?
I think, is that what you said?
Yeah, 3. But he started talking about how he had another mommy and another house at 2. So it just progressed.
Yeah, but like 3 is too young to be Googling. Like, there's no way he looked that up.
No, definitely
also, what kid would be into watching Gone with the Wind?
Yeah, I can barely get through that movie.
Yeah, that movie's problematic at best.
Yeah, I mean, and isn't it pretty long?
It's insanely long. It is so long.
It's just, yeah, that's a commitment. Okay.
Well, he wrote it, so you should yell at that little boy.
Loves it. True. Okay, last one. This one is a little bit iffier to me, but it's still interesting. So it's called An Elderly Man Shocked Archaeologists with His Knowledge of an Ancient City. So this is going way back in time.
Whoa.
So for his entire life, Arthur Flowerdew was haunted with inexplicable and
Flowerdew? I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Yeah.
How is it spelled?
Flower, like the flower, and then dew, like morning dew.
You're kidding me. That's made up. That's a made up name. That's the cutest thing I've ever heard.
I know. I looked him up. He has a whole Wikipedia page.
I wish his first name was like Willow or something.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of, they wasted.
That was a missed opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, I really like that name now that you pointed out.
That's great. Okay, sorry, I really just derailed.
No, that's okay. So, Mr. Flowerdew was haunted with inexplicable and vivid memories of a city surrounded by a desert and a temple carved into a cliff. One day, while watching a BBC documentary on television, he saw the city of Petra in Jordan. To his amazement, the city matched the one in his head. After Flowerdew shared his story with several people, BBC reporters contacted him asking to put his story on television. Several archaeologists flew to Petra with Flowerdew, and he recognized landmarks with ease, including sites that had not been excavated yet. When presented with When presented with an ancient device, the purpose of which had baffled scholars for years, he offered a plausible explanation regarding its use. After seeing a guard station, Flowerdew recalled that he had died there when he was stabbed with a spear.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a hardcore way to die.
I know. But yeah, he could have seen the city of Petra before, just registered it, but not, fully absorbed it. But still, that's a very fascinating story. So,
wow.
I know.
That's a really cool one. I'd never thought about that. That that man should become like a historian or an archaeologist or something.
Yeah, let me look at I still have his Wikipedia page open.
He's probably like a CPA.
Let's see. It doesn't say much. It says an author, I don't know how to say this, Mircea Eliade, may have used Flowerdew's experience as the basis of his novel, Youth Without Youth, which was turned into a movie by Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh,
So,
really? Never even heard of
yeah,
that.
I guess.
Youth without
Neither.
youth?
Yeah, Youth Without Youth.
Interesting. Okay. Gotta add that to the list too. You're coming in hot
Yeah.
with the recos today.
I mean, why not? Who knows?
Who knows,
Oh,
man?
it's written in Romanian, the
Oh.
novel.
Oh, okay. I was like, the movie?
The film must be in English, but
Yeah, probably.
yeah. So that was all I wanted to talk about
Wow,
because
wow, wow.
I want to hear your stuff.
Okay, so I'm trying to think of like where to start. So I'll start with our relationship, yours and mine, because I think I had a realization probably, yeah, probably, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, like in college, when I realized that like the most meaningful things that have happened in my life, like the most purposeful things, have been surrounding meeting people, like specific people. And I think there are specific relationships that are like I have this, I don't know, deep sense of it's not so logical as like, oh, I know that we're soulmates in some way, that we've met as souls in other lives. It's not so specific as that, but it's a sensation that's like, I don't know, just a vague version of that, I guess, that it's like a really intense connection, that there's like more history there than you can really put words to. There's a lot of like kind of like weird different components to it. And I think my relationship with you is probably like one of the best examples I have of that, because I feel like, and we've been saying this for years, that like, you know, the odds of our meeting were actually like very small, and then by chance it happened where like neither of us were going to go to Cal Poly, and then we both went there, and then we were both in kind of like weird roommate situations, and like ended up being next door, and then, you know, kind of like danced around each other a little bit, and then finally like became really close friends and lived together. But I think it was like from the moment we became friends, the moment we like really really met, it was like it just we like clicked into place kind of. And I think that comes back to the idea that like everything is energy, which means, you know, that's can't be created or destroyed. So I think, I don't know, there's something to that in my mind, but I've never really thought about it specifically as like past lives. So there's that. Another recent experience that I've had, well, and actually before I move on from that, I think the other piece too is, for example, like Amy has experience with healing touch, and I think there are just weird things that have happened that we've explained on previous episodes that I can't explain, and I can't. The only like reason that would make sense to me is that there is that like deeper level connection there, and it's not to say that you can't have that with someone who you haven't met in a past life or whatever, but, and again, that's not even necessarily the way I was thinking about it before, but I don't know. I just think that that kind of strengthens the theory a little bit. And then most recently, when Amy and I were in Mexico, I had an experience with this man that I met, and it was like I know people talk about like idea of like love at first sight. Like I'm not that kind of person. Like infatuation at first sight, sure, but like love at first sight, no. And it was like within the span of like a song, I felt like I was in love with this person, that I like my soul recognized theirs and vice versa. Like I knew him, he knew me, like no question. And the more time we spent together that day, it was just like reaffirming that over and over and over again. And he was someone I like met in a bar. Like it was like not a romantic situation. Like it was like dancing in a bar, and then met this guy, and like I felt the pull, but I just kind of wrote it off as like just the normal feeling of like seeing someone you're attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
But then the more time that was spent, it was like, holy shit, like there's something really intense here. And he and I have since spoken to that experience from both of our sides.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like a some one way experience. And like we live far away. Like practically, that makes no sense at all.
Right.
And we are polar opposite
Yeah.
personalities, like totally different lifestyles. Well, we have similar personalities in some ways, but our lifestyles are very, very different.
Yeah.
So there was that. And I think that kind of like, I always sort of had this question mark around like, what's why? Like, why? Like, why do I have this feeling about some people? Like Amy, for example, like, why? What's that?
Mm-hmm.
What's the point? Like, what am I
Yeah.
supposed to know? What am I supposed to learn from that?
Mm-hmm.
And so, in discussions with my life coach, she had mentioned a couple times the idea of doing a past life regression. And I was always kind of, she's always really like tailored our sessions to be as, woo woo or not as I am comfortable with. And I
Yeah.
think in the past, I just like wasn't super open to that. But in the recent, I don't know, couple of months or even a few weeks, I think I've just become really, really open to those kinds of things in a way that I
Mm-hmm.
haven't previously.
Yeah.
And so I said yes to doing the past life regression. And it was so intense. Like, it was so intense. And we're going to do more because the way that it works,
Mm.
there are like limitations to it. So you're really only going to see one past life. And it's possible you have hundreds, it's possible you
Yeah.
have none. Something you mentioned last week that I want to remind everyone is the idea that like there are people out there who know in their gut this is my
Yeah.
last incarnation,
Yeah.
and they can't explain why. They're not even necessarily people who like believe in that deeply, but they just know like this is their
Yeah.
last round.
Mm-hmm.
And my life coach actually confirmed that she has a couple of people in her life, clients and also family members, who have that same feeling.
Hmm.
She
Interesting.
also, yeah, and I'm just kind of laying the groundwork before I get into mine, but she also, so she does like goddess circles, and she'll do a lot of work like in group settings with things like this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not all specific to past lives or doing this specific kind of regression, but it's just sensing the energy of someone and trying to see like what's at the essence of that energy. So
Yeah.
she's had sessions where two or more people have the same word or the same thing come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
So there was this one woman that they were focusing on, and the word they all wrote down was Amazon.
Hmm.
And it's just like, this is kind of weird. Like that you'd
Yeah.
all say the same thing at the same time, and there were
Mm-hmm.
multiple instances in that same day that kept happening. So,
Interesting.
and that, that kind of speaks to the energetic connection between the two people who are, uh, doing the reading, as
Mm-hmm.
well as the connection between those reading and the one being read.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of layers to it, but I thought that was really interesting. And then another thing she told me, and this is the last thing before I talk about mine, is there has been, she's done some like research just generally on past life, and that the fact that this is something that people are researching now, that there's like
Mm-hmm.
an entire like psychiatry you
Yeah.
know field that's dedicated to stuff like this, is
Mm-hmm.
reincarnation and past lives and all of that like we're finally open to exploring that as like a scientific possibility. That's, I
Right.
mean, the laws of physics don't apply the same off of Earth as they do here. So why is it not possible that, we're
Yeah.
part of something much greater? But so there have been uh, numerous studies that have shown, and they're like pretty legit. I need to pull up the source because she referenced it in our conversation, but it was like they were legit sources
Yeah.
that showed people, several different people, recalling past lives in a past life regression on another planet that was the
Mm-hmm.
same other planet.
Yeah. I saw that last week too.
That blows my mind.
Yeah. I
Did we talk
know.
about that last week? Because
I
she had told
mentioned
me that
it
too.
for
You
like
did, okay.
2 seconds though. It
Yeah,
was,
because
yeah.
she had told me that too, and I was like, what the fuck? So yeah, so I mean, yeah. So then it's on the record already. It was like a very legit source. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
So the way that it works is you basically get into, you just like immediately drop into like a deep meditative state. Like it's almost like hypnotherapy, but you're not in that deep. You're fully conscious throughout all of it, but you're
Hmm.
definitely in a bit of an altered state, like trance almost.
Yeah.
So you kind of drop into that space, you know, get aware of your surroundings, get really grounded, really in your body. And then you basically, there are a couple different phases to it. So you, for our first kind of like doing a cleansing of your own aura and like all of your energy, you're inviting in spirit guides
Hmm.
in whatever form they come to you, who are like just guides of the light and your highest self. And then one comes forward in particular and takes you on into this scene. So it's just the two of you, you and your main spirit guide. And for me, it was like walking along like a garden path, and then you go through a
Hmm.
tunnel. And on the other side of the tunnel is the past life. And as
Huh.
whichever past life is there waiting for you. So
Yeah.
before all of this starts, you set an intention. So if you go in, you're just going to get something. If you just go in open, you're going to get something, but it may not be that useful if you haven't asked a specific question. So
Hmm.
my question was like, why do I keep having these interactions? Like, what is it that having this connection with you in my life is meant to show me, that having this connection with this man I met is meant to show
Yeah.
me, like what is the purpose of this, of me knowing this, being aware.
Hmm.
And so it was so interesting because I think a lot of my just kind of thoughts lately have been around like finding more purpose in my life.
Yeah.
So the outcome is like very directly connected to that, and you also played a very large role in it, and you're gonna freak out, you're gonna freak out. So starting from the
uh,
beginning, so I was on this like kind of like garden path, and my spirit guide was my grandma, my dad's mom.
oh.
My mom's dad had also come forward, as had my childhood dog Sugar, um,
Oh.
and some others.
Hmm.
But yeah, I had like looked right at my grandma, and she had this like brilliant smile, like where you could see
Oh.
all of her teeth. My
Yeah.
dad calls it her megawatt smile. And she just gave me one of those, and like it was like immediately like she was the one that came forward. So we're walking along this path that's kind of like gardeny, sort of wildflowery on the sides. And then I'm walking through the tunnel, and it's just kind of a, I don't know, just plain tunnel. And the
Hmm.
way that my life coach was kind of walking me through it was like, you're taking steps pretty slowly through the tunnel because you have to kind of like really get into
Ease.
this
Yeah.
mindset. Yeah.
Hmm.
But as you're walking, like you're getting excited to see this
Hmm.
past life and like to come back to something that you've experienced already and all of that.
Hmm.
And it was so interesting because the second my grandma smiled at me, I already had tears in my eyes. Like it was just like
Oh.
such an overwhelming sensation. And I
Yeah.
truthfully didn't expect her to come forward. She's
Hmm.
not like the energy I would have thought I would call for that would come to
Yeah.
me, but it was perfect. It was what I needed.
Hmm.
And so we're walking through the tunnel, and the first thing that my life coach has me do is look at my feet. And it's
Hmm.
so funny because before she even said it, I was looking down at my feet. Like
Huh.
in my mind. I mean, this is
Yeah.
all happening in my mind's eye.
Right.
So I'm looking down at my feet, and they're dark, like dark skin. And
Huh.
I'm looking down at my feet, and I'm like, well, those aren't my
Are
feet.
those my feet?
But they totally were.
Huh.
And I was barefoot and had this kind of um, like wrap kind of thing around me.
Hmm.
Um, I couldn't see my face clearly. I could see my hair was curly and long, but I couldn't really see anything. Like, I couldn't see a lot of detail in
Hmm.
that. But it was like one of the weirdest parts was how I was anticipating what my life coach was going to prompt. Like, it was like, I looked
Oh.
at my feet and she was like, I want you to first look down at your feet. And in my head, I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm already doing that.
Yeah.
And then was starting to scan up, and she's like, okay, and scan up your body and start to notice your clothes. Like, start moving around. Like, notice the way you move. Notice your body size, your
Hmm.
gender, if that applies, like, whatever. And so, one of the most important things is like, what's your role in this life? And
Yeah.
it was like, the second I looked at my feet, I was like, I'm a healer. Like, there was no
Oh.
question. It was
Yeah.
like, I'm a healer. And
Oh.
as I looked up and around, like, you're, kind of observing the sounds around you, and your spirit guide's there with you the whole time. And I could hear water running, like a river or something,
Hmm.
not an ocean, but a river, I think. And um, the I could hear like birds chirping, and I start to see people like walking around, and like the way that they interacted with me was so like, there was a sense of like reverence, but it was
Hmm.
both ways. It wasn't just them towards me, it was both ways, but it was
Yeah.
all like everyone I interacted with, it was like touching, like placing my forehead against their forehead. Like, there was this
Hmm.
like high intensity physicality to all of it. And it was just like no question in my mind. Like, it was like a healer role.
Yeah.
And
Wait, really
there was,
quick.
yeah,
Sorry. Do you remember how we used to put our foreheads together?
yes. I had forgotten about it until this.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
I'm probably gonna start crying when I say this. I so she's prompting me to like be in like whatever my home space looks like, to understand like what do I do in a day. And there was a ton of ritual, a lot of like homeopathic natural things, like herbs, and it seemed like natural remedy kind of things.
Hmm.
um, there was also a lot of like, I got the sense that there was like kind of sexual component to it too,
Hmm.
like literally sexual healing, but
Yeah.
like counseling, like sexual counseling kind
Hmm.
of, which honestly kind of makes a lot of sense based on who I am as a person in
Yeah.
this life.
Hmm.
Um, and so then all of a sudden I was pregnant, and it
Oh.
was like, I not from that, but
Yeah.
just
Just suddenly.
I was suddenly pregnant.
Hmm.
And I have never been pregnant in this life, but I am like 99.9% sure I know what the sensation is like
Wow.
from this experience. Like, it was
Yeah.
that, it was, I can't even explain it. It was so intense.
Hmm.
And it was you.
What?
I know that sounds insane. I know that sounds insane. You didn't
Uh,
look like you. It was
uh-huh.
like, and I know we had like been joking about this last week, but it was
Yeah.
like, because she was like, oh, it wasn't just like out of nowhere I was pregnant. She said, um, there's one, like, let someone come forward who's like really important in this life. And that's
Yeah.
when I like looked down and had my hands on my like pregnant stomach, and I was like, what?
Oh my God.
And I didn't realize it
Whoa.
was you at that point. And
Uh-huh.
then I didn't go through the birth process or anything like that, which also I think I was involved in, like some
Hmm.
kind of like midwife sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I just had a toddler, basically, like brown skin, short curly hair. I think that the child may have been a boy, but I
Hmm.
couldn't tell, because I literally, like, it was like your energy emanating off of this person. Like,
Yeah.
I was like
Oh.
sobbing. Like, by the time I finally like walked back through the tunnel and came out of it, I was like sobbing. I was like, what?
Oh my
What just
God.
happened? But it was
Wow.
like, yeah, touching foreheads. And she asked after I came out of the whole experience, she was like, what were you doing with that person? And I was like, like playing. Like I was like holding her and like with like our foreheads together and like just holding like you would hold a toddler, you know,
Yeah.
like head to chest and playing and running around and like lifting and, you know, just the things you would do to play with a
Yeah.
child. But it was like so overwhelmingly you.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
I know. And I don't know, like I'm of course my logical brain is like, okay, that's the power of like, you know, whatever influence of having exposure to that thought previously.
Yeah.
But I guess I just went into it thinking that the person that would come forward would be a partner. I did
Yeah.
not think it would be a child. And
Yeah.
so it was like it really caught me off guard. And it was
Right.
like it wasn't like, who is this? It was like, no, immediately I was like, oh, it's Amy. Like it's
A little
Amy
boy.
energy. Or girl, or I don't even know. Like I just was like, what?
Wow.
You had short, like soft curly hair. So and that's why I
Yeah.
think I thought you might have been a boy, but
Yeah.
it was honestly kind of like gender ambiguous
Yeah.
in the sort of vision. But
Right. Wow.
it, dude,
That's
it was
amazing.
insane.
Yeah.
So I came out of it, and it's interesting because I, you know, we kind of walked through the whole thing, and she was honestly pretty surprised at how emotional I was. She was like, "What happened? Like, what's going
Yeah.
on? Like, why the emotion?" And I was like, "I don't know. I've just quite literally never experienced anything like that. Like,
Yeah.
it was just so intense, and I've meditated plenty in my life and I meditate regularly still, but, and even like acupuncture, like you get into this, like, yeah, like a trance almost that
Mhm.
it's like a deep, deep, deep meditation that's almost
Yeah.
asleep, but it's not.
Mhm.
This was nothing like that. This was like I was lucid dreaming almost.
Hmm.
Like I was, or vivid dreaming at least, like I was wide awake in my own mind with my eyes
Yeah.
closed.
Right.
And the sensations or the thought of the sensations were there. It's
Yeah. It
really
felt real.
hard to explain. It felt so real. And I
Wow.
just,
Hmm.
yeah, it was really intense. And so my life coach also sees things when she's doing a regression. And
Hmm.
there were a ton of similarities in what she saw.
Wait,
So I
like
took away, I
she,
won't,
sorry,
yeah, so
she sees while you're
yeah, so
experiencing it.
she's
Okay.
seeing my experience as well. There were some
Oh.
things that were different, and she said it's actually very common for her to see a different past life. So it's not always going to be
Oh.
the same one.
Hmm.
But she's tapping into my energy, and regardless of what's happening in my mind, that
Mhm.
she's having her own experience. But there were a ton of similarities. The
Hmm.
main difference, I think, was like culture and location, like it was,
Hmm.
and probably timing. She
Yeah.
saw like Norse, like some kind of
Oh.
Norse
Interesting.
woman,
Hmm.
basically, but same role, like
Yeah.
also a midwife and or maybe
Hmm.
a doula and or maybe some sort of sexual therapist or healer. She saw a ton of ritual, a lot of dance and movement,
Hmm.
and yeah, homeopathic, like natural remedies, and a lot of like touching and yeah, physical contact and like healing that way, and that sense of like energetic exchange. Because I think the way I've thought about healers, like you would read in, you know, an anthropology book, is that they're like priests almost, or like
Hmm.
priestesses. But
Yeah.
it was living through it in this way made me realize that it's not at all that. It's they're not elevated in any way.
Right.
They're actually like giving a little piece of themselves, of their soul, like their essence, to the people that they heal
Hmm.
in exchange for a piece of that other person's. And
Right.
I like, it's really hard to put words to, but something that kind of just was really interesting is that, you know, I think about you in this lifetime as being a healer and being a lot of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me is like, think again, this is like me thinking about it more logically, but what if that stemmed from a long line of us interacting
Yeah.
on a soul level and passing that back and forth?
Right. It could
That if
be.
yeah, you were born of me in some life,
Mm-hmm.
and then that healing tradition passed on and just amplified over time.
Hmm.
You know what I
Wow.
mean?
Yeah. Wow.
Does it just sound crazy to you? I
No.
like have to, because I won't be offended. I won't be offended if you're like, I was not your child in a past
No.
life.
No. I mean, I don't think I've ever felt like, I mean, that's not true. I was going to say I've never felt like a maternal sort of
Yeah.
relationship between us, but
Mhm.
if anything, I feel maternal
Yeah.
often towards
Yeah.
you. Like just today, I
Yeah.
was texting you about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Protective and yeah.
but so, yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound crazy to
Yeah.
me. It's just like
Yeah.
kind of
Just
amazing.
shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
Uh,
It's crazy. Yeah. I think I kind of think that too. And I don't know. I mean, it just makes you think about, because there are people doing scientific research about this, at least like psychological research, and if you think about it in that way, so okay, so say that our souls have been encircling one another for who knows how long in whatever concept time is in this in
yeah.
this theory, but that genetics also play a part, right? That like
Hmm.
our genetics are also mingling, and there's that component to it too. So like in that Norse past life, were you in that one, and who were you? Were you my
Hmm.
mother? Were you a friend? Were you my husband or my partner? Like,
Right.
it's like we don't, and it doesn't matter. That's the
Yeah.
thing that's crazy, is it doesn't
Hmm.
matter, because it's not about, if you were my brother in a past life and then my partner in the next, it's not incest,
Yeah. Right.
So
Yeah.
it's just a
Yeah.
soul level connection without
Uh-huh.
any of the societal or
Yeah.
cultural
Physical.
barriers.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, it
Wow.
was intense. So, safe to
I'm
say, I am
sure.
a full on believer in past lives now. I intend to do more of
Amazing.
these regressions because it was honestly one of the most like profound experiences I've ever
Yeah.
had.
Wow. So, do you think in your next sessions you'll see the same past life
I
or
don't know. I mean, the thing that's funniest to me, and I think why I really do firmly believe that it was real,
Mhm.
is a couple things. One, um, I went into it quite literally thinking like, oh, what if I don't see anything?
Yeah.
What if I just can't
Can't.
envision
Yeah.
anything?
Right.
And she was like, I'm not worried about that. Like you're good at the, visualization and meditation and all of that. And she's like, this actually should be easy. Like
Hmm.
there's no work. Like you just relax and just let it happen, and it
Yeah.
happens. And I just
Mm.
was like very skeptical of that, to be frank.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like what I expected was completely wrong. And I was so
Mm.
surprised by a lot of what I saw,
Yeah.
that to me is very compelling and very convincing, because it's my
Mm.
own head. I should know what's
Yeah.
coming, but I
Right.
had no idea, or the like visceral reaction I was going to have to some of it.
Mhm.
Like the sensation of being pregnant, feeling that feeling
Yeah. Yeah.
was, I mean, insane. That was
Yeah.
insane to me. So
Wow.
crazy, dude.
That's amazing. Oh
Hmm.
god. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought about doing one like from YouTube, and
yeah,
then that led me to watching videos of people who had done it,
yeah,
and at least two or three of them with the self-guided ones were like I
yeah.
had kind of a bad experience with
Oh,
it and
yeah,
like
yeah.
had trouble like coming out of it. And then
Oh,
I thought maybe maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe should do
Yeah,
that with
maybe not
someone.
with someone.
But that
Yeah.
would be really interesting to see what
It's
mine might be.
yeah. I
My
mean, I can put you in contact with my life coach. She could do it for you. I'm sure there are a ton of other people who can too, but I could actually I hadn't even thought about that. Like that's like that Last Night in Soho. I think it's a movie that
oh
like just
yeah.
came out.
Yeah.
It was in theaters recently, but it's
Yeah.
basically like yeah, this girl like travels into the past basically and then like
Yeah.
kind of can't come back or
That's
other
right.
things come back with her.
Yeah.
And that just reminded me of that movie, but I can absolutely see how you could get caught up. Like
Hmm.
I could see it because it's you feel, and again, not something I expected.
Yeah.
You're in and out fast. Like it was probably a 15 to 20 minute thing,
Hmm.
and then we debriefed it afterwards. It felt a lot longer,
Yeah.
and excuse me,
Bless you.
thank you. It felt a lot longer, and also it felt like you don't want to leave. Like it
Hmm.
feels really comfortable and familiar, and so
Yeah.
you don't really want to go.
Right. Wow.
So yeah,
Oh, I'm amazed. I don't even know what to say.
I know, I know, I yeah, I'll leave it at that. I mean, it was just like a really profound experience. I think for anyone listening who's like, "That's a bunch of bullshit," I don't blame you. Like I kind of thought, no, I didn't think it was bullshit, but I just thought, there's belief is a really strong thing. And if you believe in something, then, it is in a lot of ways. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, I didn't go into it being a super believer, but now I'm like, holy shit, yeah, that's fucking real. Because I
Yeah.
can't explain those feelings any other way.
Right. Wow.
Back to the future, baby. Back to the future.
Incredible. I
Wow. Yeah, dude.
yeah. I love
So
the
cool.
idea of being able to believe in that now for you. Like, is it a comforting thought? Like, that you might,
Yeah,
after this life, have another one?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that because we kind of talked, my life coach and I kind of talked about afterwards when she shared that she knows a couple of people who feel very certain that they're on their last incarnation. She said, I don't have that feeling. And I said, I don't either. I don't
Yeah.
have the feeling that I'm brand new, but I
Hmm.
also don't have the feeling that I'm
Done.
old either. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think and it makes a lot of sense. I think some of the other questions I potentially was going to ask going into it, a lot of them were actually answered because I think they
Hmm.
were all sort of the same thing. Like, what am I supposed to do with this information, and how does it apply to my life this time around? And
Hmm.
why why is there that like unspoken energetic pull? And I think you have this too, which makes sense why our souls would be so attracted to one another or compelled towards one another because, like whenever we go to a party, one or both of us ends up like cornered by someone telling us their life story. Like it's just, we
It's
have that
true.
kind of energy, I think.
Hmm.
And I feel honored by that. And I think you do too. It's
Yeah.
just like, but you can't explain it. And I don't know
Hmm.
why me. Like, why me? Do I just have that kind of face? Like, what
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah.
You
Right.
can't explain why, but it's really a powerful thing.
Hmm. Yeah. That is true. I hadn't thought about that. That does happen to us
Yeah,
very
a lot,
frequently. Yeah.
very frequently.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, anyway, do a
Wow.
past life regression, guys. It's
Yeah.
fascinating. And maybe you'll find out that your best friend was once your baby. Chicky baby.
Oh,
She's
she's
my
a
chicky
baby. That's
baby.
so.
My Nana.
Oh my god.
Past life Nana.
Oh god. Past life baby Nana.
Yes, the best. The
Wow.
best.
That's
So
amazing.
stay spooky, guys.
Yeah.
Investigate your past lives. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. If you
Yeah.
have any past life info you care to share, whether you want it read on the podcast or not, please send it to
Yeah.
girlsgonespooky@gmail.com because we want to read
We
that
would
shit.
love to hear. That's for sure.
Love, love to hear. Wow.
Wow.
All right, y'all. We will see you next week. Stay spooky, friends.
Stay spooky. Bye, everyone.
Bye.